Baruch. Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov, Shavua Tov. Starting a new Siman Reish Nun Bet, which talks about Melachot that you start on Erev Shabbat that continue on their own over Shabbat. So the Shulchan Aruch opens Mutar lehatchil b'melacha be'erev Shabbat samuch l'chashecha. A person is allowed to start a Melacha on Friday, close to sunset. Afal pi she'eno yachol legomra mibe'od yom, even though you're unable to finish it while it's still daytime. V'nigmara me'eleha b'Shabbat. And it finishes on its own, that's the key word here, on its own on Shabbat. Now the Shulchan Aruch gives many examples. We're going to go through one example and then see some of the Mefarshim. One example, Kegon lishrot diyo v'samamanim b'mayim v'hem nishrim kol HaShabbat. For instance, to put ink and other types of spices into water and to make that water into ink or into colors for different types of clothing, etc. So now you have a small amount of this formula of, let's say, the color blue. Now you want to put it into water so that over time it makes that entire vat of water that thick blue. So now you could use that for dyeing clothing, etc. Now it takes time to be done. So you're allowed to put it on a Friday, even though it's happening on its own, and even though it's going to finish on Shabbat. You can't dye things on Shabbat, but the process is starting before Shabbat, and it's continuing on its own over Shabbat. That is allowed. So the one of the reasons behind this is if let's say a person himself can't do melacha, a person has to also have his animals not do melacha, but his kelim, his vessels, is allowed to do melacha for him if it's happening in an automatic way. Even if it is a isur deoraita, meaning tzovea, coloring, that's what's going on here. You're tzovea the water, you're coloring the water. So even though tzovea is an isur deoraita, it's a Torah commandment not to do on Shabbat, but because it starts before Shabbat and it's happening on its own over Shabbat, it's allowed. So too, let's say you light a candle, we have the Shabbat candles, we light it before Shabbat, and it's still being lit, it's still working over Shabbat. It's still, I have fire here that I can't do this on Shabbat, but it started before Shabbat. Of course, you can continue keeping it on. Now, Rav Ovadia Yosef has a chidush that even if I set something up on Friday, but the start of it is only going to happen on Shabbat, that too is allowed. And the classic example is a timer, where I set the timer on Friday. The light didn't go on yet on Friday at all. The light is only going on Shabbat for the first time. So it's not like, let's say, the case of the ink where I started it on Friday and it just continues and continues and continues over Shabbat. Here, I did one thing so that it could start on Shabbat. That too is allowed because you prepared it from before Shabbat. We're going to get into different types of timer questions and things like that. We'll do that and more, Bezrat Hashem, tomorrow and this coming week. Mincha tonight at 7:05. Mincha tonight at 7:05. Have a good day, everyone, and Shavua Tov.